I was teaching English in Osaka when it happened. Not Tokyo, not some remote mountain village. Osaka. A city of 3 million people, neon lights, and 24-hour convenience stores. The kind of place where nothing like this should be possible. It was late November, and I had stayed at the language school grading papers until almost 10. The trains were still running, but I decided to walk. My apartment was only 20 minutes away through the Nakanoshima district, along the river where the streetlights cast long reflections on the water. I liked walking at night in Japan. It always felt safe. The first thing I noticed was the fog. It had rolled in off the Yodo River while I was inside, thick and gray, the kind that swallowed streetlights whole. I could barely see 30 feet ahead. The city sounds had gone muted, like someone had pressed a pillow over the world. I was crossing a pedestrian bridge when I saw her. She was standing in the middle of the walkway, perfectly still. A woman in a long beige coat, her dark hair hanging straight past her shoulders. She wore a white surgical mask over the lower half of her face. This was Japan, so that part was not unusual. Half the population wore masks during flu season. I thought nothing of it. As I approached, she turned toward me. Her eyes were dark and very large, almost too large for her face, and they locked onto mine with an intensity that made my stomach drop. I tried to walk around her, but she shifted to block my path. Not aggressively. Gently. Like a dance. Watashi kirei, she asked. Her voice was soft, almost childlike. Am I pretty? I had been in Japan long enough to know the legend of Kuchisake-onna. Every student I taught had told me some version of it. The slit-mouth woman who appears on foggy nights and asks if you think she is beautiful. If you say yes, she removes her mask to reveal a Glasgow smile, a mouth carved from ear to ear, and asks again. If you say yes a second time, she cuts your face to match hers. If you say no at any point, she kills you. But those were stories. Children's stories. Something to whisper about at slumber parties. I was a grown man standing on a bridge in a modern city. I almost laughed. Sure, I said in Japanese. Kirei desu. You are pretty. She reached up with both hands and pulled down her mask. What I saw beneath it was not makeup. It was not a Halloween costume or a prank. The cuts extended from the corners of her mouth all the way to her ears, and they had healed badly, the scar tissue thick and pink and puckered like melted wax. When she smiled, and she did smile, her face opened like a wound, and I could see too many teeth, all the way back to her molars. The muscles of her cheeks moved independently, like they were no longer fully attached. Kore demo, she whispered through that impossible mouth. Even like this? My students had told me what to say. The one answer that confuses her long enough for you to run. You are supposed to say she looks average. Not pretty, not ugly. Just ordinary. It short-circuits the question. Ma desu, I said. My voice cracked. You look average. She tilted her head. The smile faltered. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, she stood completely still, her carved mouth half open, her enormous eyes blinking rapidly as if processing something she had never encountered before. I ran. I did not look back until I reached the convenience store 2 blocks away, where I stood under the fluorescent lights shaking so badly that the cashier asked if I needed an ambulance. I told him I was fine. I bought a coffee I did not drink and sat in the store for 45 minutes before I could make myself go outside again. The fog had cleared. The streets were empty. I walked home in 7 minutes, locked my door, and did not sleep. The next morning, I convinced myself it was a prank. A woman with theatrical makeup and a knowledge of urban legends. Japan had a culture of elaborate pranks. It made perfect sense. I went to work. I taught my classes. I told no one. 3 nights later, I was walking home again. Different route this time, through the shopping arcade near Shinsaibashi. Crowds of people. Bright lights. Music playing from store speakers. I felt someone watching me. She was standing across the street, motionless among the moving crowd. Same coat. Same mask. Same enormous dark eyes fixed on mine. People walked past her without glancing, like she was a lamppost or a mailbox, something too ordinary to notice. She raised one hand and waved. Slowly. Like a child saying goodbye. I took a taxi home that night. And the next night. And every night after that for 3 weeks, until my contract ended and I flew back to the United States. I told myself I was being rational. That taxis were more convenient. That I had simply grown tired of walking. But here is the thing that still wakes me up at 2 in the morning, 14 years later. On my last night in Osaka, I was packing my suitcase in my apartment on the 4th floor. I glanced out the window. She was standing on the sidewalk below, looking up. She was not wearing the mask. Even from 4 stories up, I could see the smile. And next to her, there was a second woman. Same coat. Same hair. Same carved face. They waved at me together. Slowly. In perfect unison. I have never been back to Japan. I check behind me when I walk at night. I avoid fog. And sometimes, when I am very tired and the house is very quiet, I hear a soft voice somewhere just outside my window. Watashi kirei? I never answer.